Okay, so I am super pumped for this video because you know how much I love simple credit card setups, and US Bank has done it again with the release of their Smartly credit card. This card has had a lot of eyes on it since it was first announced, and for good reason, and I want to go over my thoughts on it and some of the strategies you can use to maximize your value with this card. Of course, this card is great for the 2% or even the 2.5% cashback options, but those of you watching this video are probably like me and want that incredible uncapped 4% cashback, which requires at least $100,000 of assets in combined qualified deposits in US Bank. So in this video, not only am I going to go over this card, I'm also going to do a deep dive on the best strategies to qualify for that 4% cashback, and also how this card will fit in my credit card portfolio as someone who is currently Platinum Honors with Bank of America. And before we get into the good stuff, I do want to go over this card, at least briefly, so that we're all on the same page. First things first, this is a no annual fee card, but it's also advertised as a premium metal card. So that's pretty cool, and I'm a big fan of that decision. The US Bank Smartly credit card does not come with a welcome offer, but it does come with a 0% introductory APR, which is applied to not only purchases, but also balance transfers made within 60 days of account opening for the first 12 billing cycles. So that's great, I guess, but personally, I don't like keeping a balance on a personal credit card anyways, because we always should be paying off our credit cards on time and in full every single time. That being said, sometimes surprise expenses come up, but in that situation, I would try to pay off that balance as soon as possible if you can, and then try to work on getting an emergency fund to use next time. So even though it has no annual fee, this card has a 3% foreign transaction fee. So sadly, this card is basically only relevant when it's used domestically. And this brings us to the multiplier structure of the card, which is to earn unlimited 2% cashback on every purchase. And we're very familiar with 2% cashback credit cards with no annual fee. That's nothing new. But what makes this card really stand out is the opportunity to earn more. When paired with a US Bank Smartly savings account, you can earn up to a total of 4% cashback on everything, depending on the average daily combined qualifying balances with US Bank and US Bank Corp investment accounts. Specifically, you can earn a total of 2.5% cashback with balances between $5,000 and $49,999, 3% cashback on balances between $50,000 and $99,999, and 4% cashback with qualifying balances of $100,000 or more. So let's summarize. If you have $100,000 with US Bank, the Smartly credit card is a no annual fee card that earns unlimited 4% cashback on everything. This is an absolute game changer card, and I am all for cards like these that makes life simple, which is a concept that we don't see a lot of anymore, especially since other issuers have been increasing annual fees and making their cards more complicated with more statement credits, or making benefits harder to earn with fine print. And the last piece of this equation is that to get these cashback rates, the rewards must be redeemed into an eligible US Bank deposit account, such as the US Bank Smartly checking account. So when you look at it, to make this all work, you'll need a US Bank Smartly checking account or safe debit account, a US Bank Smartly savings account, and the US Bank Smartly credit card, all at the same time at the very least. It's also important to have the US Bank Smartly checking account because not only does it waive the $5 monthly maintenance fee on the savings account, but if you have $25,000 or more in that savings account, you'd also qualify for an APR of 4.1%, at least as the recording of this video. Okay, so that's the deal with the US Bank Smartly credit card, but if you plan on putting money into the US Bank ecosystem, I think it's important to also understand their Smartly Rewards program as well. And there are 4 levels to the program: Primary, Plus, Premium, and Pinnacle. And to qualify for each level, you need at least a US Bank Smartly checking account, and then meet a combined qualifying balance level, which include assets in the following accounts: savings and money market accounts, certificates of deposits or CDs, and individual retirement accounts, which are IRAs, and US Bank Corp investment accounts and personal trust accounts. So for the primary tier, you need a combined balance of $20,000 to $49,999. For the plus tier, you need a combined balance of $50,000 to $99,999. For the premium tier, you need a combined balance of $100,000 to $249,999, and finally for the Pinnacle tier, you need a combined balance of $250,000 or more. Now the individual benefits will, of course, get better as you go up each tier. But there's one benefit that's particularly important when it comes to the US Bank Smartly credit card, and that's the IRA annual fee. If you have $50,000 or more with US Bank, as in if you qualify for the Plus tier or above, the IRA annual fee of $50 is waived. And this is important because if you have a combined qualifying balance of $50,000 or more with US Bank, some of that money could be in an IRA. And if so, you won't have to pay a $50 annual fee on this account, which is nice because we don't like fees. And this brings me to the fun part of this video, which is to discuss the 3 accounts that I think are the best if you're interested in depositing $100,000 with US Bank and you want to earn that uncapped 4% cashback on the Smartly credit card. And the first account is, of course, the US Bank savings account. Now, I'll admit, not everyone is interested in parking $100,000 in a savings account, but there are certainly some situations where I think this would work. For example, saving for a down payment on a house or having a larger emergency fund. As we're still currently in a relatively higher interest rate environment right now, the APY is pretty good on the US Bank Smartly savings account at 4.1%. But to get that APY, there's going to be a few caveats. The first caveat is that you need a US Bank Smartly checking account or safe debit account, as we mentioned before. And this is kind of a no-brainer, especially if there's a checking account bonus going on like there was in October. With this promotion, you could earn up to $400 by opening a US Bank Smartly checking account and making 2 direct deposits totaling $5,000 or more within 90 days of account opening. This offer has since expired as of October 31st, but it gives you an idea of the types of promotions that are available as of the end of 2024. And the second caveat is that you'll need combined qualifying balances and a Smartly savings account balance of at least $25,000. This can be seen in this chart here, so feel free to pause the video now to visually see what I'm talking about. But essentially, you want to end up on the bottom right of this chart, and this chart is current as of September 3rd, 2024. And since there are no fees associated with this account, this is an easy way to get to that 4% cashback level with the Smartly credit card. Well, easy in the sense that you have to have $100,000 to put into this account. But in practice, what's the best way to go about doing this? And I want to briefly mention this so you can start earning that 4.1% APY as soon as your money hits your account if you don't already have one. Essentially, it's important to deposit at least $25,000 into the savings account when you open it. This is because the initial interest rate bump will be determined by the combined qualifying balance the business day after the Smartly savings account is open. Sadly, if you put less than $25,000 in as the initial investment, you won't be able to get to that 4.1% APY until at the very earliest at the end of the month. So just keep that in mind if you plan on opening a new savings account with US Bank. Okay, so the next type of account that would qualify for combined qualified deposits are with investment accounts with US Bank Corp. Now, the best one to open for this reason, in my opinion, is their self-directed investing account. And for full disclosure, I don't have one of these accounts yet, but I can see that there are some drawbacks already with this account compared to other brokerages on the market. The first issue is that they charge $4.95 per stock in ETF trades. However, there's an easy workaround for this. If you have a US Bank checking account, which you should already if you're trying to get that 4% cash back on the Smartly credit card, and you're enrolled in paperless document delivery, you get 100 free trades per year. And to some people, that may not seem like a lot, but for what we're using this account for, I think this is more than sufficient. This account really shouldn't be used for active trading. Instead, it really should be used to hold assets for the purposes of adding to your combined qualifying balances to qualify for the Smartly card bonus that you want. And so that's one drawback, but the second one is also not that great, and it's that this account has an annual account fee of $50. Now, this fee can be waived if you have a statement household balance of more than $250,000, but that's a significant amount of money, so it may or may not be worth it depending on your situation. If you already bank and invest with US Bank, then this may be doable, but otherwise it's probably not worth going down this path. And then we get to our third option, which is the individual retirement account or IRA. Now, for those of you who already invest for retirement, this may be another way to get some assets into the US Bank ecosystem for those qualifying deposits. The account still has the same issue of trade fees with 100 free trades per year as discussed earlier, But like we mentioned earlier, it's a little easier to waive the $50 annual fee that comes with this account. Remember that starting at the Plus tier, which is having $50,000 in combined qualifying assets or more, the IRA annual fee of $50 is waived. So if you don't mind keeping your IRA with US Bank, this would be another option to consider to quickly boost your combined qualifying balance to that 100K mark. Okay, so those are the 3 accounts that are the best to use, and you could just use one of them, or you could use some combination of all 3 to get you to that $100,000 asset level. But in this next session, I want to go over what I'm going to be doing and explain my thought process and reasoning behind it. And just to be clear, I absolutely plan on applying for the US Bank Smartly credit card. Having an uncapped 4% cashback on everything card for no annual fee is too good of a card to pass up, even with a 3% foreign transaction fee. And as you may know, I've been a huge fan of the Bank of America Preferred Reward System, and I'm currently Platinum Honors with them, so I get that 75% boost to the multipliers on my Bank of America credit cards. And just like with the US Bank Premium tier, for Bank of America's Platinum Honor tier, you need to have at least $100,000 in assets with them, either in deposit accounts or invested through Merrill Lynch. And for me, I have a self-directed Merrill Edge account to keep me above that $100,000 level and to qualify myself for Platinum Honors. Now, I've had this account for years, and just like the US Bank self-directed account, this really isn't a great account for active trading. It's really an account for just keeping assets in there and just letting them ride. Personally, I have just one ETF in that account, and all of my money is invested in that security, and that ETF is Vanguard's Total Market ETF, or VTI. Now, what's nice about this account is that it has $0 online stock, ETF, and options trades, and there's no annual fee. In fact, sometimes they run account opening bonuses, as you can see from this example here, where they're running an up to $600 bonus when you make a qualifying deposit within 45 days and maintain that balance for at least 90 days. So when I look at my Merrill Edge self-directed account and compare it to US Bank's self-directed account too, Merrill just has a much better product. So, if possible, I'd prefer not to put my funds in the US Bank self-directed account unless I could avoid the $50 annual fee, but I don't have $250K to put into the US Bank, so that's out for me. I also have, just like many of you, an IRA that could potentially be transferred to US Bank, but I don't really want to do this either. As I'm pretty established with Fidelity, and in particular, my backdoor IRA strategy, I don't really want to move this to a new bank, so that's out for me too. So what I'm left with is a savings account, and since I have a pretty generous emergency fund, and I'm also saving up for a down payment on a house, this is how I'll be increasing my qualifying balance with US Bank to over $100,000. Now, 4.1% APY isn't necessarily the best APY out there, and of course, interest rates are projected to continue to fall over time. But for me, this is the best option, and I could potentially choose a CD in the future if it was the right move. And you definitely could make the argument that, well, you could try to park that money at another bank for 4.5% or even 5% APY, and then just use a 2% card and still come out ahead, depending on how much money you spend. And that is true, but since this is going to be my catch-all credit card for essentially all of my non-mobile wallet spending, there's going to be a significant amount of expenses on this card yearly that, at least in my case, is going to work out in my favor. And the next topic I want to cover is, what about Bank of America and my Premium Rewards Elite credit card, which is my current catch-all credit card? Since both the Premium Rewards Elite and Premium Rewards cards can't even get to the 4% cashback level, even with Platinum Honors, it doesn't really make sense for me to have these cards anymore, especially with their annual fees of $550 and $95 respectively. So my new plan is to downgrade my Premium Rewards Elite credit card to the Bank of America Travel Rewards card. Essentially, I still want a solid catch-all credit card with no foreign transaction fees because the US Bank Smartly card still has those fees, so I need a catch-all card when I travel abroad. I've also heard that if you downgrade a higher tier Bank of America card like the Premium Rewards card to an unlimited cash rewards card, the no foreign transaction fee benefits stick, so I may also consider that option too. Of course, all of these plans completely depend on getting approved for the US Bank Smartly credit card, and although I currently have a favorable credit profile, it certainly isn't what I would call optimized. But I'm hoping that the fact that I just moved $100,000 into US Bank will help with the approval. But we're just gonna have to see because US Bank approvals are pretty finicky, so definitely stay tuned for that Watch Me Apply video. So those are my thoughts on the new US Bank Smartly credit card. Again, this is one of the most powerful cards to hit the market, and for those of you like me this is a great card to have in your core credit card setup for a single credit card that earns 4% cash back on everything. And I'm looking forward to pairing this card with one of my all-time favorite cards, which is the US Bank Altitude Reserve. And to see why this card is so powerful, check out this video next.